Hi, this is Conny Lin. You're watching a special edition of Monday Forum. Today, we're at the BC Liberals Leadership Forum in Vancouver. We'll be chatting with all 6 candidates on matters that concerns all British Columbians. First, now with us is Diane Watts. Welcome, Diane Watts.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, so the first question for you is, why do you think last time BC Liberal lost government, and how would you do differently as a leader?
Well, you know what? The main thing that I saw during the election is that the BC voters sent the BC Liberals a message. There was 11 seats lost, 10 seats in the Lower Mainland, and it was because we'd stopped listening. And I think when you look at the foundation fiscally that we went into the election with, we had AAA credit rating, we had 5 balanced budgets, best job growth in the country, yet you lost 11 seats and 10 of those in the Lower Mainland. So it was really a disconnect. And sometimes, you really have to pay attention to when you have that fiscal framework, you have to be connecting with the community, you have to be connecting with the voters. And the voters lost trust in the BC Liberals. So one of the things that we have to do is gain that trust back. And that's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a lot of hard work. I think we can do it. I'm very confident of that. But you know what? It starts at the grassroots level, building that trust back, and that's what we need to do.
Great. So thinking about trust, housing crisis issue, that's very important in the Lower Mainland. So last year, BC Liberal government implemented a 15% for foreign buyers tax, but in November, BC REA have reported a 15% increase in the housing prices. How are you going to address the housing crisis issue?
Well, and you can clearly see that measure did not work, because there's not one thing that is going to fix this housing crisis. It's many things. We have to put more housing, different types of housing stock on the market. We have to make sure that we're looking at how we can support student housing, because there's a lot of issues around student housing and residents, especially around the university towns. And you look at how we need to connect transportation. Transportation is a huge issue. And so what we have to do is make sure that we've got good transportation, good networks, and a lot of times, there's bullet trains from the downtown core of any major city out into the areas where it's more affordable. And also seniors housing. There's a huge issue with the lack of seniors housing, and that has to be addressed. So it's a multifaceted issue, and we really have to all come together to resolve it.
Right. So the next one is what everybody cares about, is healthcare.
Yes.
So if you're elected as a leader, how are you going to address the long doctor wait time and the shortages?
Well, you know what, and that was one of the things, and I do believe that was one of the reasons why we lost so many seats, because when we were in government, it wasn't addressed. And so looking at how we retain doctors, how we recruit doctors, and one of those also starts with making sure that our kids here at home have access to universities. There's a lot of kids that are going into medical school, they're going over to Ireland, they're going down to the States to get educated because they can't have access here, and that's just wrong. So we need to be looking at that, but also too, we need to capitalize on our diversity. We have so many amazing people from countries all over the world that have education, education, that are doctors, that are veterinarians, that really can contribute to what we need in our society. We've got engineers, and so it's really taking whatever the country of origin is taking that talent and translating it into how can we put everybody to work in where they fit in and can do the best job.
Thank you. So next is more fun question. So how do you think you stand out among other candidates?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm an outsider. So I look at that as being an absolute asset. I haven't been part of the government. I've worked with the government, being the former mayor of Surrey and as well as a member of parliament. And you know what? There were a lot of good things that have been done, and we have to build on that. But you know what? When you lose the trust of the voters of British Columbia, you really have to work hard, and it's a challenge to get that back. And so I don't believe that people that the voices from the past or people that were there during all of the time the government was in power are the ones to affect change. And so I think that I'm advantaged that way, and I look forward to moving forward and making sure that we make the changes and build the trust that we need to do to win the next election and to win those 11 seats back.
Like your energy. So last question for you is, how would you relate to different voters across BC?
Well, there's a number of things that we have to do. We have to make sure that we grow the party. We have to bring the next generation in. And one of the things that we have to do is make sure that there's something for the next generation. And I think that's where we lost ground, because the platform in the last election really didn't address a lot of the issues around affordability, around the needs around healthcare, childcare, transportation. And so I think that we really need to build a platform that really speaks to people and puts people first, puts community first, and then you build your economic platform around that. And again, we need to celebrate and really make sure that we have a very diverse party, and we can do a better job of that.
Thank you.
Great, my pleasure.
Thank you, Diane, and very good luck
Yes.
in February.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Here with me now is Todd Stone. Welcome, Todd Stone.
Hi, Connie. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So the first question for you is, why do you think the last time Liberal lost government, and how would you do differently as a leader?
Well, I think that government's responsible for two things. It has to do two things really well. One is you need to create the conditions for a thriving, growing, strong economy where the private sector can create jobs, where investment is attracted to the province, you can keep taxes down, people are working. And I think on that score, I think we actually get a pretty high grade. I think most British Columbians believe that we are good economic managers. But the second core responsibility of government is to make sure that all British Columbians benefit from that strong economy, that everyone feels like their life is getting better, that they're getting ahead. And I think on that point, particularly in Metro Vancouver, there were a lot of folks, particularly families, that really didn't feel like they were participating in this strong economy. So moving forward, we have to talk about the reason you have a strong economy is so that you can make investments in people. You can make investments in the people that we love and that we care, and our families. And I think that was the piece that was missing in the last election. But the fix is to be talking about education, to be talking about the importance of better healthcare, to be wanting to support early childhood development. And so I've put some very detailed plans forward that are focused on addressing those challenges, housing as well, housing affordability, that I think were very significant issues here in the Lower Mainland that we have to do a better job as a party at addressing.
That's a great leeway into my next question. Is last year, BC Liberal government implemented a 15% foreign buyers tax, but in November, the BCREA reported 15% rise in housing prices. So how are you going to address housing affordability issue?
Well, housing affordability was perhaps the most important issue in the lead up to and through the last election. No question about it, especially here in Metro Vancouver. I would like to see more data to determine whether or not the 15% foreign buyers tax is actually working as intended. I'm very concerned about the signal that the 15% buyers tax, foreign buyers tax actually sent to the rest of the world. I want British Columbia to be known in the world as a great place, a welcoming place to invest, to move to raise your families here. And so I think we really need to take a long, hard look at whether or not this tax actually has had the desired impact of helping stabilize pricing. And if it hasn't, then we should revisit whether or not keeping this tax actually makes sense.
Right. So another question is the healthcare issue. Everybody cares about healthcare. So if you're elected as a leader, how are you going to address the long doctor wait time and the doctor shortages?
Well, the most important issue to me, and I think to British Columbians when it comes to our healthcare, is ensuring that all British Columbians have access, timely and equitable access to the healthcare that they need when they need it. Whether that's access to a family doctor, whether that's access to a surgery that they need. People need to be able to know, whatever community they live in, big and small, that they can access a healthcare. That means that we're going to have to invest a little bit more. We're going to have to train more doctors and more nurse practitioners, broaden the scope of care for all of the different types of healthcare professionals that are delivering great healthcare in our province. It means welcoming foreign credentialed doctors, more of them, who want to come to British Columbia, especially British Columbians who were raised here and maybe went overseas to become a doctor, and they want to come back and practice. We have to make it easier for those individuals to come and practice healthcare here in British Columbia.
Right. So Todd, how do you think you are different among the other candidates?
Well, I think we have a terrific opportunity in front of us through this leadership process to renew and rejuvenate our party, to welcome more British Columbians than ever before into this great party of ours. But to do that, we have to have a great team. We have to build a great team of candidates. We have to have a message that really resonates with people in the province, not just in the Lower Mainland, but right across the whole province. And we need to make sure that we pick a leader who has the energy and the passion and a vision, who's actually going to be able to inspire all of those British Columbians, especially young people, young women, who didn't vote for us in the last election. We need to bring those voters back, and I think the leader has to set the tone for that, and I think I'm that leader.
So you're actually leading to my next question. So how would you relate to different voters across BC?
Well, I'm the youngest candidate in this race at 45. I'm the only candidate in this race who has young school-aged children. I'm the only candidate in this race who's a small business person. I happen to have worked in mining and forestry, but I've also worked in tech. I'm a tech CEO. I live and represent a riding which is urban in nature, but is in a rural region. So I am very relatable in as much in Williams Lake and Kamloops as I am in Yaletown and West Vancouver. And that crossover appeal, that relatability in all parts of British Columbia is what it's going to take to bring people together and to win the next election.
Fantastic. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Connie.
And best of luck in February. Here we have Michael Lee. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Connie. It was great to be on here.
Yeah.
The Ellis Times, terrific.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, the first question's it's a little sharp. So, why do you think BC Liberal lost the last election in government? And as a leader, what would you do differently?
Well, I think our message was too narrow. Voters only knew about the fact that we're very strong on jobs and the economy, balanced budgets, AAA credit ratings, and the other parties were viewed to care. I want to rebalance that message. I know that it's about the economy, but it's also about the environment. How do we care and lower our carbon footprint? How do we continue to innovate our healthcare system, strengthen our education system, and take care of people through the social programs that we need to have and continue to be strong in this province?
So talking about social programs, housing affordability. Last year, BC Liberals government implemented the 15% foreign buyers tax, but this November, BCREA reported 15% rise in housing prices. As a leader, how are you going to address the housing affordability issue?
I think housing affordability, there's no one single solution, and certainly that's not the foreign buyers tax. I believe that we continue to need to build the right kind of supply, work with municipalities to ensure there's the right mix of family housing and rental housing, more density on transit lines. We need to have more of a housing strategy across the region, and we need to build for the future because we want people to be able to live and build their future here in this province.
So healthcare too, everybody needs healthcare. So as a leader, if you were elected, how are you going to address the doctor shortage and the wait time issue?
So I've been working in the private sector for 20 years as a business lawyer. I know that operations and organizations need to be constantly innovative. We can improve. We can be more efficient. We can bring more partnerships to the healthcare system, consider and improve choice. And we need to ensure that everyone has access to the kind of care they need, not just for seniors, elderly people, home care in the communities, but also in terms of direct care access with physicians and for young people as well.
So this question is about How are you different among the other candidates? How do
So
you
I
stand out?
bring a fresh and new perspective, one that's about change and renewal for this party. I know we need to rebalance the message that we have to British Columbians, and I believe I can bring that new approach to broaden our appeal, to bring a new approach that is more grounded in the community. I've been involved with the community around Metro Vancouver for over 30 years. I know this province well in terms of working with the resource companies all over this province, and I feel that I can bring that new approach.
Yeah, so with that approach, how would you relate to different voters across BC?
So I'm born and raised here in British Columbia. My children are now 25, 23, and 19. I know that we want to encourage young people to build a future here. We need to continue to work and build healthy and sustainable communities. I've worked in the not-for-profit sector with immigrant service organizations, children and youth organizations. I understand the concerns of families here, and we need to continue to ensure that we have a strong family unit and build healthy and sustainable communities. I believe I can do that, and I relate to people in a very direct way, a very human way, a thoughtful way, and an authentic way. That's what I think I do.
Fantastic, Michael. Thank you for coming to this.
Oh, thank you,
And
Connie.
Best of luck in February.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Let's take a break and we'll continue to chat with the remaining three candidates.